It was fine. It was fine. Let's look at the Mihamoka.
They've opened the
It's
doors.
okay. They'll get a little
They'll get it.
extra.
They're getting twice for the
We're going to
price.
run through the Mihamoka.
An encore.
Okay.
Early.
Everybody set?
Yep.
We do not need to run through the Oseh Shalom.
What are the words on that one? What are the words? Oseh Shalom.
Steve, everybody.
Steven,
Naughty.
everybody could, anybody need anything?
No, you did good.
Cocktail.
A little. A little. We done? I think we're good. Yes. Oh, not too much beer, please. Great. Good job.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I didn't think about the solo in your shop. Wet.
Okay?
Okay, we're good. Do you want to take a break?
You?
You don't have to.
Well, we got 5 minutes here.
5 minutes.
Still having a run down the aisle. Pretty quick. Music will be playing and then we run down.
Thank
Shabbat Shalom. Sitting over there on the bima is Phil Ecker. Phil Ecker is the vice president of our board of trustees, and he represents the community on the bima tonight. And sitting up here in the middle seat right here in the front row is Jack Lebo, who is becoming bar mitzvah tomorrow morning. So we're excited to celebrate with him, and we're going to call him and his family up in just a minute or two to help us with the blessings over Shabbat. And over here at the piano, of course, you know Rita Lusky. And behind her are the very talented members of our choir who are going to help lead our music tonight during services. So we are up here already, and we are so glad to have all of you here. And it's nice to be together after a long week. It's good to have Shabbat. It's great to have Shabbat. So let's turn to the people around us and wish each other a Shabbat Shalom and make sure we all know each other. Turn in our prayer books to page 2 for the blessings over Shabbat, and we're going to invite Jack and his family forward to lead us in those blessings.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, So may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tivanu lechad l'kner shel Shabbat.
Blessed are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the light of Shabbat.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
The heaven and the earth were finished, and all their array. On the seventh day, God finished the work that God had been doing. And God ceased on the seventh day from all the work that God had done. And God blessed the seventh day and declared it holy, because on it God ceased from all the work of creation that God had done.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei pri hagafen. Praise to you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, creator of the fruit of the vine.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei pri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon chinchilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit ki hu yom techila lemikrae kodesh zecher letziat Mitzrayim kivanu v'acharta v'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amim v'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh ha-Shabbat. I also want to express a welcome to those that are at home and participating with us via our streaming services. You may or may not know that we stream every service at the synagogue, and so while we think it's perhaps great and maybe better to have everybody here in community, not everybody can make it because they don't drive at night or the weather gets bad or whatever reason that they have. And so you should know, as we get deeper into winter, if you can't make it on a Friday night, you can always go to our website and tune in, so to speak. So welcome to all of you who are out there. We're going to continue on page 20 in our prayer book, singing Lecha Dodi. Lecha Dodi Likrat kala p'nei Shabbat nekabla lecha dodi likrat kala p'nei Shabbat nekabla Shalom Shabbat Shalom Shabbat Shalom u'mivorach. Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom u'mivorach. Lecha dodi likrat kala p'nei Shabbat nikabla. Lecha dodi likrat kala p'nei Shabbat nikabla. And we turn ahead in our prayer books to page 26 for the Chatzi Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah B'alma divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei B'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael Bagala uv'izman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach le'alam le'amei amaya yitbarach v'ishtabach v'bar v'tromam v'itnasei v'itadar v'itale v'talal shmei d'kudusha berichu le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata Tushbechata v'nechemata damiran b'yalma v'imru amen. Page 28, we continue with the Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu et Adonai hamivorach. Baruch Adonai hamivorach leolam vaed. Praise Adonai, to whom praise is due forever. Praise be Adonai, to whom praise is due now and forever. We join together in Ma'ariv Aravim on page 30. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro Ma'ariv Aravim, b'chochma poteach sha'arim, uvitvuna meshane itim, umachalif et hazmanim, umisader et hakochavim, b'mishmirotehem barakia kirtsono, borei yom v'layla, golel or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or, uma'avir yom umevi layla, umavdil ben yom uvein layla, Adonai tzvaot shemo. El chai v'kayam, tamid yimloch aleinu leolam va'ed, Baruch atah Adonai, hama'ariv aravim. We read responsively on page 33. Wisdom and wonder, passion and instruction, story and symbol. All these things your Torah gives to us. And the more we devote ourselves to it, the more it grows and gives. Then this holiest of your works in the living language that gives it form, Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Leolam Vaed. Hear, O Israel, Adonai is our God, Adonai is one. Blessed is God's glorious majesty forever and ever. You may take your seat as we continue on page 36 with the V'ahavta. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה, אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם להיות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני Adonai Elohechem. We read responsively on page 39. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth.
The high heavens declare your glory, and the earth reveal your justice and love.
From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way.
Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces.
Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed.
Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea.
Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom aleinu, ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim. Continue on page 44, singing Vishamru.
Lord
We continue on page 46 with the tefillah. Please rise. Adonai sifatai tiftachu fi agita hilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu ve'Elohei avoteinu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Ve'konei Hakol, V'zocher Chastei Avot v'Imahot, U'mevi Geula livnei v'neihem, Leman Shemo B'Ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Ve'ezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayeh HaKol atah Rav le'Oshia, Mashiv HaRuach, U'morid HaGashem, Mechalkel Chaim Bechesed, Mechayeh HaKol berachamim rabim, Somech noflim v'rofei cholim, Umatir asurim, Umekayem emunato, Lishenei afar, Michamocha bal gevurot, Umidol melach, Melech me'mit u'mechaye u'matzmiach Yeshua v'neman atah lachayot hakol Baruch atah Adonai mechaye hakol Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh u'kadoshim b'chol yom yalucha selah Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh. You are holy, your name is holy, and those who are holy praise you every day. Blessed are you, Adonai, the holy God. You may take your seats. We take a moment now and think of those who are in need of our blessings, in need of God's blessings, blessings of healing, blessings of health. I will read a list of names that have been compiled by our members in a moment. I'll ask if there are others we should consider as well. On this Shabbat, we think of Rita Sandstrom, Maureen Ziv, Linda Lashkowitz, Rochelle Landy, Carmen Wood, Jay Weinblatt, Shirley Weissman, Benita Johnson, Paula Fields, Rini Goldish, Karen Dingle, Chuck Conrad, Emily Jarecki, Andrew Jaffe, Jim Levitas, Taylor Boyle, Mary Sue Kern, Rhonda Garvis, Dina, Olivia Nord, Lee Mannheimer, Sue Weber, Miriam Spillman, Jim Landy, Linda Lindholm, Mark Van Noot, Rabbi Lynn Landsberg, Sigmund Stern, Shirley Thomas, John Trachtenberg, Naomi Reyna, Lenny Leader, Beverly Stern. We mentioned Nadav Vinish, serving in Israel's Defense Forces, and Jamie Larson, who's serving in the United States military. We pray for their well-being. If there are others to consider with our Misha Berach, please add their names when I look your way.
Joyce Feldman.
Paul Dare.
Misha Berach prayer is on page 253 in the prayer book. Misha Berach Avotenu Mikor HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misha Berach Imotenu Mikor HaBracha Lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. We take a few moments for silent prayer now, turning back to page 53 and continuing on from there, or using your own prayers. I know some of you are here tonight because we announced we would be discussing Jerusalem. And think we probably have too big of a group to really have a discussion, but I want to share some thoughts with you, and I hope that that will lend itself to others continuing the conversation, and I invite you to come and have individual conversations with me, join our Torah study groups where of course, these things come up, and there are lots of other opportunities at the synagogue to continue the conversation. I'm assuming to a certain extent that everybody knows that something happened with regard to Jerusalem this week. With all of the other news coming out of the government, different politicians having different experiences and statements this week, it seems already long ago, but just in the middle of the week, President Trump declared that Jerusalem is the capital of Israel and to a certain extent of the Jewish people, and that the United States would be moving our embassy to Jerusalem. In and of itself, that doesn't seem like a very complicated statement, especially given that every president since at least 1995 has agreed that Jerusalem is the capital of Israel and that the embassy should be moved from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. And every 6 months since that was determined in 1995, our presidents have signed waivers delaying it by 6 months, saying that we'll wait till the right time. And so what happened this week, essentially, was that President Trump decided now was the right time. There's a lot of things that we don't know. And a lot of the things that we do know are often opinion. And I imagine that there is a large spectrum of opinion in the room, in the congregation, because our congregation is made up of people who have lots of different understandings about things, and that's what makes it such a wonderful group of people. And so what I hope is that as we do have these conversations, we're able to do it in a respectful way, because we should understand that not everybody agrees with me or with you or with each other, and it's important that we are able to have discussions about important things like this. So I am going to try in just a couple of minutes to simplify the entire issue. I know I will leave things out. I know I might not say things the way some of you might say them, but I'm hoping that everybody can leave here with a strong understanding about what the issue is, maybe to the extent that you can even explain it to somebody else. Here's what we do know. If you've ever been to Jerusalem, and maybe we're given a tour of what Jerusalem looks like topographically or geographically, you might know that Jerusalem as a topographical area, as a place, if you look down on it, it's 3 mountain ridges. And it looks sort of like a shin upside down, a shin that is upside down and facing south. And because of that, Jerusalem historically has been very defensible from anybody coming north, because people could stand up on top of these mountains and look down into the desert and see who's coming, the dust rising. But from the north, it's been pretty indefensible, because it's just hard to defend flat land without a whole lot of notice of who's coming. And so because of that, Jerusalem has risen and fallen a number of times. But what we know, or what we believe as Jewish people, is that we have had continuous Jewish existence and presence in Jerusalem for 3,000 years or more. We say 3,000 years because we like to think that as we understand our history, it spans at least 3,000 years in the Promised Land, in Jerusalem and the surrounding areas. Even when the temple was destroyed the second time, and Jewish sovereignty in the land ended for 2,000 years, we know that Jewish presence didn't cease in Jerusalem. And so we can say, at least as we understand history, there has been Jewish presence in Jerusalem for thousands of years. And then in 1947, the United Nations, in declaring what should happen to the land of Israel, to divide it between the Jewish people and the Arab nation, the Palestinians, they divided the land, they partitioned the land according to what would be called the United Nations Partition Plan. and they declared that Jerusalem would be a neutral city, an international city, kind of like the Switzerland of the Middle East. The Jewish community didn't love that idea, but they were at that time willing to take this offer by the United Nations to create a settlement between the Palestinians and the Israelis. They got part of the land, the Israelis would get part of the land, Jerusalem would be everybody's. So the Jews accepted this plan, and the Arab nations and the people who would be called the Palestinians rejected the plan. And so then in 1948, Israel declares independence, and soon after, early in 1949, David Ben-Gurion, the first prime minister of Israel, declared that Jerusalem is the eternal capital of Israel and of the Jewish people. And I think that's probably how most of us have thought of Jerusalem throughout our lives, as the eternal sacred capital of the Jewish people. Israel's parliament, the Knesset, started meeting in Jerusalem in 1950. Their current location, the Knesset building, if you've gone on a tour with Bet Shalom, you've either visited it or driven close by it, and it's been pointed out. That's been there since 1966. The Supreme Court is there. The Prime Minister's residence and offices are in Jerusalem. As former ambassador from the United States to Israel, Dan Shapiro, or as I like to think of him, Danny Shapiro, because he was my camp counselor a long time ago, he said this week that as the ambassador to Israel from the United States, he woke up in his residence every day in Tel Aviv and got into his car and drove to Jerusalem so that he could take care of his diplomatic duties. The reality is that Jerusalem has been the capital of Israel for a very long time, for 70 years, for thousands of years. Ethan Roberts, who is a member of our congregation, he's also, I can never remember his exact title, so I apologize, but he's the head of public policy for the Jewish Community Relations Council. He's the lobbyist on behalf of the Jewish community in Minneapolis and St. Paul. And he wrote something today suggesting, and I think a lot of us would agree with this, that the notion as to whether or not Jerusalem is the capital of Israel is and should be off the table. This recognition is not a concession to Israel, it's a concession to reality. If you go to Israel, if you've been to Israel, you would understand that there is no question about the place of Jerusalem in Israeli society and in the Jews' mind. So what's the issue? As many people have said this week, President Trump simply has done what all presidents since 1995 have done. And in 1995, as I mentioned before, there was an act that was passed, a bipartisan act that was passed by Congress called the Jerusalem Embassy Act, which essentially stated that at a certain time, at the right time, the United States would move its embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, and that's essentially what President Trump has suggested is going to happen now. So I'm sure there are many reasons to question, to discuss why it is that President Trump did this now. I don't want to get into the politics. I don't want to get into trying to understand things that we can only have conjecture for. President Trump has his reasons for this being the week. Many of us probably think it doesn't matter when, that there's never going to be a good time, and others think that perhaps now is not the right time. I want to suggest just 3 areas that I think that we can focus on that might be sort of at the heart of discomfort for people, where they're not sure that they can or should support it or not. The first is the fear of bloodshed. For many people, the question of when is the right time perhaps is associated with maybe a peaceful time, when, as the Oslo Accords of the 1990s suggested, Israel and the Palestinians would come to some sort of final settlement or final status of the land, and Jerusalem would be negotiated at that point. It would be peaceful, the doves would be flying, the candy would be in the street, and the United States could then peaceably move its embassy to Jerusalem. If you've been at all looking at the news since the announcement, we can see that things are starting to boil. As of the last time I looked before services, we're up to hundreds of people being injured in protests and responses to the protests from the Israeli army. All the headlines point out lightly injured, most of them. About 50 people, according to the couple of articles I read, needed to be treated in the hospital. But 2 people have died. 2 Palestinians have died. And so already, again, depending on where you sit with this issue, 2 lives have been taken as a result of this. Yet, I think we can also say that if Israel were to make its decisions based on whether or not it was going to lead to some sort of bloodshed or some sort of violence or protest, then very few of the historic decisions that Israel has had to make would have been made. Independence would have never been declared if there was fear for uprising. There were lots of lives lost in Israel in every war. And the Independence War was a decision that Israel made to declare. And so bloodshed is certainly a concern. I don't want to minimize it at all. I don't want to minimize the fact that rockets have been lobbied from Gaza into southern Israel this afternoon and yesterday, and Israel has responded with airstrikes. These are all very serious things, and the loss of life is nothing to be casual about. Another big issue, number 2 on my list, is something that Tom Friedman in the New York Times expressed better than I think I can yesterday in the New York Times, but that this is a lost opportunity for the United States to force some concessions. It's probably not a huge secret that I'm not a great fan of Prime Minister Netanyahu, and the United States lost a lot of leverage with Netanyahu by just acquiescing and moving and suggesting that we're going to now move the embassy, even though it's probably going to take years for that to actually happen. Tom Friedman pointed out that 2 things in particular could have been forced with this issue. Traded. We'll move the embassy if we can get a better grasp on settlement expansion and try to slow settlement expansion. That leads to a difficulty in creating a 2-state solution. The more settlements there are, the harder it is to create a viable Palestinian state, which I think a lot of progressive Jews feel is the ultimate desire in terms of peace in the land, creating peace between the people. And so there could have been perhaps some concessions gained by offering to move the embassy on settlements, and then also perhaps a stronger commitment from Netanyahu into negotiating a 2-state solution, because that's also something that seems to be getting further and further away. The third, and this, of course, it's hard for it not to become political, but I don't think it needs to, just that there's a concern that it's an empty gesture, that for whatever reason, that now is the time that President Trump would declare that this move is going to be made, that we don't know why, and some suggest maybe it's for personal political reasons, but the great hope is, and this is why it's the 3rd concern on my list, the great hope is that it perhaps is part of some master plan that gets Israel closer to peace with the Palestinians. We don't know what that is. We know that he suggested in his statement that the status quo hasn't worked, and so he's willing to make some bold choices, and that we'll know more about the context of that in the weeks and months to come. And we can simply pray that there is some master plan the United States is going to be able to broker, although many suggest the United States no longer can be a broker of peace because of this move. So there are no easy answers. I think that the president stated what many of us in the diaspora who consider ourselves Ohavei Tzion, or lovers of Zion, what we know in our hearts, and what every Israeli knows in reality, that Jerusalem is the center of the Jewish world. It's the beating heart of the people of Israel. It's the spiritual center. If you've been to Jerusalem, you can sense what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. And if you haven't been, you might resonate. The words of Judah Halevi, the medieval poet, might resonate with you that here I am in the far west, but my heart is in the east. And that's Jerusalem. The official Reform statement that came out this week that was endorsed by all of the Reform movement's organizations, from the rabbis and the CCAR to the lay leaders of the Union for Reform Judaism to the women of Reform Judaism, all of those organizations, they're all signatories on the statement that has one sentence towards the end of it that simply says, "We urge the President to do everything in his power to move forward with efforts to bring true peace to the region." There's a few things in that statement that maybe are questionable, that not everybody might agree with, because they're critical at the same time that they welcome the move to Jerusalem. But yet I think we can agree that what is really needed there is peace. And so we pray that in the days ahead we see a return to calm. It's very easy in times of tension for things to boil over out of control. If you are a reader of the news, I encourage you to look at lots of different sources of news, because CNN and Fox paint a certain picture that is to a certain extent insightful. Not insightful, but insights, and we want to be careful about that. Of course, there is some news there that's worthy, but you got to read all of it, and you have to understand all of it. Everybody in Israel is sleeping right now. So we hope that when they wake up tomorrow, there's a sense of Sabbath, of calm, perhaps what we're starting to feel in this sanctuary. And all we can do from here is educate ourselves, be able to have the conversation with our friends and neighbors who ultimately and often turn to us as the experts when we ourselves don't feel like the experts. And so that song that we sang at the end of silent prayer, I think, is really the most powerful thing that we can do to find inspiration, which is to pray for peace. I'm going to ask the choir to reprise it for us. Rita, I hope you haven't turned the page yet. But the words Oseh Shalom, which are ones that we repeat often throughout what it is that we do when we pray, Oseh Shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen, mean, I know you know the word shalom and it's in there, and so there's the assumptions about peace, but it's important to think about what those words actually mean, because it's a very hopeful prayer. It's a prayer that suggests that God in heaven causes peace to exist in the heavens above. The perfection of the world to come, the perfection of the heavens, the perfection of whatever it is that we understand God and God's existence to be. That God causes peace to exist there, and that all we want here on earth is a taste of that peace. And so that we pray when we sing Oseh Shalom simply that the one who causes peace to exist in the heavens above cause peace to descend here to us on earth, in Jerusalem. An old prayer that prays for peace in Jerusalem. We know that this is not a new issue. And so we join together in singing Oseh Shalom, praying for peace for us and for Jerusalem. Ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'yimeru amen. Oseh shalom imromav u'ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. turn to Aleinu on page 282. Please rise. Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol, latet gedula liotzer breshit, shelo asanu kigoye haratzot, velo samanu k'mishpechot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, v'gor aleinu kechol hamonam, v'anachnu korim u'mishtachavim u'modim lifnei melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu v'nemar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz bayomahu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad. Our thoughts turn to those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people whose graves are unmarked, and those of every race and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss, of life and death. On this Shabbat, we think of those whose Shloshim we are currently observing, those who have died in the last 30 days. Stephen Feldman, Tilly Jaffe, Sandra Fink, Shirley Cantor, Melvin Gallup, Matt Londy, Stephen Zender, Sheldon Weitz, Norman Thiel. And we recall for a blessing those whose yahrzeits have occurred since last Shabbat. Jenny Barkovec, Alice Berman, Rose Lewis Bernstein, Ida Bialek, Paul Bluestein, Marie Bezio, Sandra Bressler, Sylvia Bruzanski, Morris Chargo, Stephen Cohen, Sumner Cohen, Quentin Dachis, Marvin Engler, Isaac Epstein, Rana Fisher, Ava Georgeson, Sally Greenberg, Louis Grossman, Ruth Hirsch, Rose Kahn, Michael Calland, Howard Kastner, Irma Kofsky, Chaya Kolmanovic, Rosetta Coates, Dorothy Landy, Byron Levine, Melvin Lipsett, Ilya Malamed, David Solomon Nord, Glenn Norsted, Viola O'Gara, Lois Patton, Florence Pollock, Vernon Prohofsky, Judith Robinson, Jeanette Rubini, Eleanor Schulman, John Silver, Sam Singer, Ralph Thomas, Fega Riva Viner, Isidore Waterman, Louis Arthur Weinblatt. We think, too, of the millions of our people who perished in the Shoah and the Holocaust, many of whom only have us to say Kaddish for them today. If there are others whom you honor with the words of Kaddish Yatom, Mourner's Kaddish, either for Shloshim or for Yartzeit, please add their names. Zichronam Livracha. May their memories be for a blessing. We're joined together on page 294. Yit Gadal v'yit Kadash Shmei Rabbah B'alma Divrach Yerutei v'yamlich Malchutei B'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael Ba'galau v'izman kariv v'imru Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah Mevarach le'olam omei omaya Yit Barach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal Shmei d'Kodesha b'richu le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata dam yiran b'alma v'imru Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Oseh shalom bimromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Oseh shalom bimromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru Amen. Our closing prayer is Adon Olam on page 321 in the prayer book. We look forward to services tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock when Jack becomes our teacher and our bar mitzvah. I know you'll want to be here to celebrate with him, so please be here at 10 a.m. tomorrow morning. And join us now in singing Adon Olam. Adon Olam Asher Malach B'terem Kol Yitzir Nivra Li'ed Nasa B'chefso Kol Azai Melech Shemo Nikra Yacharei Kichlot HaKol V'hu Haya V'hu Oveh V'hu Yiyeh B'tifara V'hu Echad V'yein Sheni L'cham Shilo L'chach Bira V'li Reshit V'li Tachlit V'lo Ha'oz V'ha'misra V'hu Eli V'chai Goalim V'tzur Chevli B'yetzara V'hu Nisi Umanos Li Minat Kosi B'yom Ekra B'yado Afkid Ruchi V'yetishan V'ya'ira V'imruchi Geviyati Adonai Li V'lo Ira. Shabbat Shalom.
Well, they're so
It's
good.
the good of it.
It's the good of it.